T minus 1 minute. T minus 50 seconds. T minus 40 seconds. T minus 30 seconds. T minus 20 seconds. Ten, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0.
Own it, own it, own it, Kong. I own it. It did.
Women's Wrestling Talk, the #1 women's wrestling show on the planet. Women's Wrestling Talk, the #1 women's wrestling show on the planet.
Hey y'all, welcome to Women's Wrestling Talk, the #1 women's wrestling show on the planet. Happy Monday and happy WrestleMania week, WrestleMania Monday, not a manic Monday, but a mania Monday. Welcome and thank you for joining us on the Wow Superheroes After Show. Of course, I'm your girl Stephanie Hardy, host and creator of the Hardy Wrestling Podcast, host and writer for Women's Wrestling Talk, and color commentator for the Belladonna Division, Battle Club Pro, and Black Girl Magic 2022. And I'm so happy to be here to start off and kick off our week by talking about the best thing with Wow Women of Wrestling. Of course, I'm not alone. I am here with my amazing co-host. She is the creator of the channel In Cat We Trust, an amazing super mom, and of course, creator and curator of the Women of Color in Wrestling panel, which will be taking place at Chicago Comic-Con this weekend. Please go if you're not if you don't have any plans on going, you need to make some plans, carve it out, and actually go, because this is Katrina Blake and she is here with all the realness. So Kat, how are you doing?
Such a fabulous intro. I am good. It is an exciting week. Well, I will not be in LA. All of you guys who will be in LA having an awesome time, I am with you guys in spirit. I think it's going to be fantastic. Best wrestling week of the year. This is our Super Bowl. Super Bowl week, Super Bowl festivities. And so I'm excited to talk some WoW. And just looking forward to what this week is going to be some awesome stuff happening.
Absolutely. And I do selfishly wish you were coming with me, but it's okay though, because you got to do what you got to do. And, I just have to fulfill my dreams because I haven't been to WrestleMania in over 12 years. So it's been too long. But of course, for anybody in the comments, who are celebrating WrestleMania week, let us know what you're doing this weekend in the chat. Also, if you watch this weekend's episode of Wow Superheroes, please light up the chat and let us know what parts are your favorite parts, what superheroes are your favorite. And of course, just let us know, or just to drop in and just say hi. You can do that as well. So either way, thank you for joining us. Those who are watching us on our live feed on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitch, thank you so much for watching and for being supportive of the brand as a whole. So yeah, this weekend was, of course, a new episode of Wow Superheroes. Pretty cool stuff going on, a pretty dramatic main event for the most part. But Kat, how did you feel about the episode as a whole before we get deep into it?
It was a good episode. I do like that we got to see some Foxy Fierce, which is always good to see. We got to see Steffi and even the rematch we kind of been waiting for. And though we will get to it, because I was just like really I was a little bit peeved, I'm not gonna lie. But Otherwise, I thought it was a really good episode.
Yes, I agree. I feel like this episode was really good, even though there were some shenanigans thrown in there, as you like to say. But either way, it was still a pretty solid episode, very entertaining, and also full of, black girl magic as well. And we're going to get to that a little bit later. But speaking of women of color in wrestling, the episode proper started off, of course, with the tag team match between Gigi Gianni and our girl Amber Rodriguez versus team. Wow, like I feel like I'm trying to find a name for these women that's really awesome. I think I'm going to call them Generation Texas because they are both from Texas, as Steffi Slays and Jennifer Flores. And I'm calling them Generation Texas because, of course, Steffi Slays is a millennial and Jennifer Flores is Gen Z. Is that what it is? Yeah, it's Generation Z. So when you combine them both together, you get Generation Texas. So you got Team Fabulous versus Generation Texas. There we go. Um, and this tag team match was pretty fire for the most part. You got to see the best of what all these women have to offer. It was a really good showcase of what all of these women have. You have Gigi's toughness and all of her heavy lifting as well, because they did say on commentary that she has been going to the gym and working on a lot of her heavy lifting in this match. She has been doing that along with her ground and pound action. But then the match basically got started with Amber Rodriguez and Jennifer Flores starting off. They were trading shots back and forth. But then there was a point where Steffi Slay sort of got tagged in and they were isolating her and beating up on her and stomping on her. But eventually the tag team continuity of Generation Texas were able to sort of bounce back, as the match got further into the midpoint. As you can see from this picture, or at least from the picture that just went off, J Flow actually started hitting Amber Rodriguez with a number of sling blades. And as you can see, you have Gigi stomping on the neck of Steffi Slays. And then, of course, you have Amber ganging up in the corner while the ref I'm more than sure, was distracted while this was going on. But the match actually wound up ending when Gigi and Amber tried to lift up Jennifer Flores for a suplex, but then Steffi Slays wound up catching her in order to, keep her from falling and slamming on the mat. And then they both hit a double drop kick to both women. And after that point, I believe Steffi Slays tried to hit Amber Rodriguez with one of her patented moves, which it looked like it didn't necessarily connect all the way, but either way, Amber Rodriguez was knocked out and she got the three count. So Generation Texas wound up winning the match. Steffi Slays and Jennifer Flores wound up winning, and David, of course, had a word with them. But yeah, this match was pretty solid. So Katrina, how did you feel about this match and the tag team chemistry of Generation Texas?
I thought it was a good open to WoW this week. I do like that, they are getting, like, I see like they were good, but I feel like they're getting better with how they kind of communicate with each other in the ring, and I thought that it's working well. And Steffi has been there a little bit longer, and then you have somebody like Jen who's kind of starting out. And again, I know her off of, separate stuff outside of WoW, and so it's also really nice to kind of see it a little, like, her wrestling is very similar, but also I feel like she's being a little bit more free to an extent with working with Steffi. And so it's good to see. I'm glad they got the win. And then this is, I love me some Amber Rodriguez, but sometimes, you want the faces to prevail, because a lot of shenanigans with a lot of the heels apparently on wow, there's a lot of shenanigans with some of the superheroes on here. And so it's always nice to kind of see the faces of the promotion kind of prevail here. And I think that they're getting more better and better as far as their communication work as a team. And so, like, again, when you think of the tag teams leading up to the ones that currently have the titles, which we'll get to at the end, at the end for the main event. But like when you think of, like, some strong tag teams, they can very well at some point be a strong tag team going, forward, if they continue like on this path of making sure they can just work. I think they have been working very well together. And so who knows? They can very well be a situation where you're like, okay, are they the next people? Are they the next, team that can challenge, the tag titles. I feel like if they continue on this, it could very well be one of the top teams as well.
Yeah, they really can. And J Flow is someone who I am consider like who I am always impressed by every time I watch her wrestle. Like she just moves so quickly and she's just so, smooth with her transitions into various moves. She continues to impress me more and more each time I see her. But of course, we do still want to see Amber Rodriguez, sort of win a whole lot more, even though she is, playing basically being a heel at this point. You do want to see more of her, being um fierce, winning things and maybe qualifying to be champion at some point. But either way, the match was still really good, pretty solid tag team action to start off. And yeah, like the tag division of WoW is really, heating up and turning up, in such a magnificent way. And I think that that's really good. So kudos to Team Generation Texas for winning. We love it. We love it. We love it. Now, of course, moving on into a different segment that took place that was really interesting for me was the fact that we got to go out into the woods a little bit of Kentucky and got to see Jesse Jones and Americana hang out. And of course, they were talking about all the things that they had in common and really how Americana did not expect Jesse Jones to really take to her son Levi the way that she did. But Jesse, opened up a little bit more and you got to see more of her tender side and talk about how much she really does love kids, even though she has this very tough country exterior out in Kentucky. And this means the world to me because, of course, I went to college in Kentucky and, you had that Appalachian thing going on. Not Appalachian Mountains, but the Appalachian Mountains. That's what we call it. And so it was just really cool to sort of see a lot of that, take place in terms of watching her chop wood and be out in the woods and sort of talk Levi into helping with the chickens and stuff in the farm and whatnot. Like that was really cool because I had a lot of friends. One friend in particular, shout out to Dr. Leanna at Berea College. She grew up in that type of lifestyle in Kentucky. So that was her life. So that was just really cool to see, and it warmed my heart from inside. I really do miss Kentucky sometimes. But yeah, it was just really cool to see the both of them bonding with that type of love for each other and their tenderness. So that was really cool. So this, of course, led to before we go into the match, we did get a little bit more of a backstory of hearing more about how the Heavy Metal Sisters have been sort of breaking down a little bit with their communication and with their chemistry, because of course the last match that they had where Mesmeriah was fighting on her own, she had accidentally hit Razor, who was trying to distract her opponent, and it wound up costing her the match. And then after they were fussing at each other back and forth, Razor, who is also a friend of Women's Wrestling Talk, walked away, from the both of them. And this is something that will come up, the further we get into this match that's coming up. But yeah, it seemed like they were sort of struggling. So basically the question was, will the Heavy Metal Sisters get their groove back? That was very interesting for me to see them, be angry with each other, because since this iteration of WoW has started, they've always been on the same page. So that was really interesting. So Kat, how did you feel about watching the Heavy Metal Sisters, kind of just argue?
It's we saw it coming, and it's unfortunate because they were wanting this new version of WoW. Um, you know, they were one of the groups that were kind of together already, and so they will have like years of chemistry. Like we had some teams that there were people who already worked with WoW, but then there was ones where you clearly knew they kind of put them together for this new. And so they're one of the groups that were kind of there before, and so it's unfortunate to kind of see. It's like, oh, okay, you're not really so much on the same page anymore. And it could also be that sometimes, when you get too used to something, it very well, you might not be on the same page because you might be missing things because you're used to things. And it also can be maybe you've been together too long and maybe you need either something to kind of get it back together or even split. And I don't even like splitting up teams, but sometimes, there's an unfortunate, like sometimes you don't want to outgrow people, but you do. And so I'm hoping it's not a situation where maybe they've outgrown each other as a unit. And maybe it's just something that they need to refocus on how to communicate better as a unit, as a team. But I wasn't surprised, only because I felt like we've been seeing the breakdown happening over the last times we've seen them at, any episode. They haven't always been on the same page. It always seemed like, when they might have gotten a win, it might have not, got messed up because of somebody not communicating or not letting it be aware, like, I'm gonna probably do this to help you, or maybe not, like maybe this is time to kind of step back and read the room, like maybe don't do anything just yet. And so maybe it's either they need to do something to change the communication, or maybe it's like they're outgrowing each other. And I don't know where it really falls under just yet, but I wasn't surprised about the yelling, just because we've been kind of seeing it happen um in real time. And in regards to the segment with Jessie, I actually thought it was really sweet as a mom. I don't know. I didn't. You don't really expect her to really. I don't know. Like in the beginning, her character in the beginning, you're like, I don't know. She's kind of like, f everybody. I don't care about this team's children. And so I was like, oh, okay. It's kind of nice to see you bond with a kid. And I love my kids, but I can't say I like everybody's kid, because that would be a lie. And so, I get the whole like kind of questionable about working with kids, but Levi seemed like a good kid and a respectful kid, and so it's kind of nice to kind of see that aspect. Like it's like, okay, got a little point there for like mom me, like I like you being nice to the children. Okay, that was cool, and so that was nice to see. An opposite to the fact that, at least with the other group, it was more arguing between them, which I do think played into the match coming up.
Yeah, because of course, I'm not a mother, but I've heard stories from people who are mothers discuss how they just don't want, everybody around their children, because you just never know exactly, what people's intentions are. And that's something that I do, understand, and that I can, understand as a person from the outside looking in, someone who is close to other, like everybody just can't be around your child. So I'm glad that Americana and Jesse Jones were able to come to an understanding, and they have a friendship, in that way, where she's comfortable with Levi being around her. So that's always a good thing. And of course, Levi was in the audience with a sign that said Americana is my mama, and I thought that was really cute. You just love the kitty support. But of course, this leads into the next match, which was another tag team match between Jesse Jones and Americana versus the Heavy Metal Sisters. And of course, there's three of them, so that's going to be a little bit unfair advantage, but Jesse Jones and Americana did try their best in this match, so we're not gonna throw that much shade on them. But then we also saw that Mesmeriah had a little bit of a new look. She dyed her hair. That was really cool. I was just like, okay, so you've gone from black and green to something else. And I was like, okay, ma'am, I like it. I like it a lot. Sometimes you just got to make some changes, okay? But this match was pretty stellar for the most part. I wound up enjoying it, but it started off in a very chaotic way, because as Jesse Jones and Americana were making their entrances in, the Heavy Metal Sisters started attacking Jesse Jones heavy, like with a chair and everything. They were trying to like slam her into the steps, and then use the chair to try to break certain body parts and everything. And I was just like, so y'all coming in hot, okay? So y'all really trying to prove like y'all are still on the same page and that we should take y'all more seriously. And David McLean was trying to ask Jessie, if she wanted to go ahead and fight anyway, and he was trying to give her, some space to, heal up and see if Americana wanted to either fight on her own or find another partner. But she decided to fight on anyway. And I thought that was really admirable from, a perspective of somebody who probably been like, no, I can't do it. No, like she is a tough cookie. So she went ahead and did it anyway. So as you can see, Americana fought off the Heavy Metal Sisters as best as she could throughout the match. There she is with a clothesline. And it was just a nice little back and forth. You see Razor, our friend, attacking Americana with a lot of her hard hits as well, and backing her into a corner and also stomping on her in the corner as well. That was like the second time I saw this in the same night, where somebody took their opponent and stomped them in the corner. Like I'm like, it looked like they were catching the Holy Ghost. It was funny. But yeah, it was just a really tough match between them two. But then it's like, once Jesse Jones was able to get in there, she actually was able to get a lot of offense in on both of the on all the Heavy Metal Sisters. It was just like really, it was really good. I enjoyed the match But in the end, the Heavy Metal Sisters wound up winning. And Jesse Jones and Americana wound up losing in front of Levi, which made me sad because he had to sign for his mom. And of course, Mesmeriah was out there proving to be the X factor in that decision. And after the Heavy Metal Sisters won that match, they cut a promo and basically said that they are prepared to take on anybody, like even the Carlson twins in Miami Sweet Heat for the tag titles. And then Razor decided to step out there and say that maybe she could qualify and be the WoW World Champion. And then they got to fighting over that. And I was like, oh, not y'all getting in a tizzy talking about which one could actually qualify to fight for the world title. And then after that, here again, Razor walked away. So there's trouble still in paradise there. So Katrina, how did you feel about the match, and how do you feel about these cracks further forming in the Heavy Metal Sisters?
So the match was good, and I was actually surprised that they got the win, considering what was happening before the matchup. And it seemed like they did get it together enough to get the win, but even if you got to win, again, this is weeks of breakdown of communication, and you cannot fix that with a win, and you can't fix that with one match. There clearly needs to be a change in how they talk to each other. And then, like I said, it could really well just be a situation where they're like outgrowing each other, and maybe that's why Razor was just like, maybe I can do a solo thing. Sometimes there's always the one who might want to have solo is aspirations. You think of all these bands, you got the band, and then all of a sudden you got the solo one who want to go solo and do their thing. And it happens all the time. You get the Mike Jackson, the Beyonce, the Justin, and you think of all the people who do the solo careers and so maybe it's one of those situations where she just want a little bit of solo type aspiration of kind of, what can I do on my own? What can I do by myself? Do I need my team for this? And so obviously, if you're in a team and a person says, well, we're gonna go for the tag titles, and you go, well, actually, I could probably go for the wild champion. You're kind of gonna have to look a little side-eye, like, wait a minute, I thought we just said that we can do this, as a squad. And so while you can have both, and that's very possible, it's also like, but it kind of makes you feel like you put your team to the back when you said that. And so I can understand why it might have been a little bit discord, but again, I don't think one match win will change the fact that this has clearly been going on for weeks. And I'm going to say maybe even months, even as far as them breaking down as far as how they kind of communicate with each other, because clearly it's a little odd that you want to know maybe Razor wanted to go like try if she can make it, if she can do this on her own. That's something that you think might have been brought up as some kind of conversation if you guys are communicating, and so clearly that's not happening. And so I did feel a tidbit sad about Levi with the sign as a parent, but then it was also heal me. That would have been like, because sometimes if I'm at a wrestling show, I might talk smack to people's kids. Like this kid was like so excited, and I was just like, but then he lost. And my friend was like, "Oh my god, that's so mean." I'm like, but he lost though. Like, I'm just as a me being a heel at this moment because I like the person that was in the ring. I'm like, wow. In this case, he lost, and so boohoo. Not that I was actually really mean to the kid. I wasn't, but like, and so little heel me for a little bit was like, but then also like, oh, I understand. That's like, you want your parent to it, or like if I was a mom watching my kid, I want my kid to do the best, and I'm like, yay. And so I was like kind of split on that. But like I said, it was a good win, but also again, if they wind up splitting in the future, I will not. I mean, it'd be unfortunate, but I will not be surprised, only because we're watching it happen. We're watching it happen, and it doesn't look like it's getting better, especially with this like, oh, why are you trying to go? Like, it's like, why are you trying to leave us after we just settled all this? And it's like, well, maybe I could qualify. It's like she already pushed it to the back. Like, it's not even that important anymore. And so who knows?
Yep, everybody wants to be on top, and it just seems like Razor, has her own agenda. And here at Women's Wrestling Talk, we will not be dealing with any Razor slander whatsoever at all, okay? But here's the thing, like, I wouldn't mind seeing her as the WoW World Champion or even as a tag champion, but you do have to, take into consideration and actually talk about it. And it's so funny you were mentioning bands. And I was just thinking about like the Jonas Brothers, and then when they broke up, and how there really wasn't, that much communication until, of course, when they finally did decide that they were going to get back together, they had to have those tough conversations and talk about the reasons why everything wasn't working out with them. Like, they had to address that. Now, mind you, they also had a documentary, charting them having this conversation, which I didn't mind, but at the same time, they had to talk about it. So it's just, if this is what's going on with the Heavy Metal Sisters, they really do need to figure that out, because they competed in the tag tournament, when the tag titles were vacant. They were very on top of things when it came to them in the tag division. Like, they really do need to decide which ones are going to go after the solo thing and which one are going to go after the tag things. And are they going to let it, tear them apart? Because if not, then they can continue to move on and, dominate. But if it does tear them apart, then they're just going to have to go their separate ways and try to figure some stuff out. But yeah, it was pretty interesting for the way that it ended. But either way, it was still pretty good. So next on the docket, we had some Black Girl Magic on WoW on this episode, because we had, now I was super excited when I saw this was the first graphic I saw for this episode, and I was just like, yes. So we had Holidead versus Foxy Fierce. Now, of course, Holidead has been sort of running around with Team Darkness trying to torture Candy Crush, but of course, that saga has somewhat ended. But so Holidead is trying to refocus and fight people, and Foxy Fierce, is bouncing back, of course, from her amazing performance, but also sort of sad loss that she sustained at LA Comic-Con. So now here she is, sort of fighting her way back up, and she fought with Holidead, who I guess you could say is a veteran at this point when it comes to her wrestling career, even outside of WoW. So this match was really good. I liked it a lot. Like, I feel like for Foxy Fierce, she really stepped up to the plate when it came to fighting someone like Holidead. Now, Holidead is really powerful. She utilizes her arms and her fists and her legs a whole lot, and not like in terms of her arsenal. But the thing about Foxy Fierce was she was utilizing a lot of her quickness in order to counteract that. And that was something that I really did appreciate. It was like, for every time that Holidead kept punching her in the face or slamming her face into the mat, or picking her up and lifting her and slamming her into the mat, Foxy would find some type of way to use her quickness to either kick her or knock her down. There was one impressive part where she actually kicked her and then went into a split. And I was like, okay, girl, it was giving Trinity. I loved it. So it was just like, she was doing a really amazing job in this match. And even though she was dancing at the beginning of it and Holidead had to knock her back into reality, she still stepped it up and did an amazing job. And as you can see, you have that impressive drop kick as well, where she sort of got the wind back underneath her sails. But even as it looked like Holidead was about to take advantage of her, guess who popped back up into her orbit? Miss Candy Crush, who we thought was, over and done with the whole revenge kick on Team Darkness. She popped up and finally said, hey, guess what? I'm right here. Why don't you come and hit me? Why don't you come and hit me? Blah, blah, blah. And they traded like swings back and forth at each other until Holidead knocked her off of the apron. But then Foxy Fierce took advantage of that and rolled her up for the 1, 2, 3, and Foxy Fierce won that match. So this was really cool. The Black Girl, I guess you could say Light Magic, wound up winning in this match, but Holidead did an amazing job. But the more interesting part about this anyway, it's just the fact that Candy Crush, was still trying to get revenge. And I was just like, girl, I thought last week you said you was finished. That I thought you were tired, of fighting with these women about, what's going on with the gloves and everything and all the mind games. So I guess now she's just trying to play mind games with them to let them know what it feels like. I don't know. But Kat, how did you feel about the match, first of all? And then secondly, how did you feel about what Candy Crush did?
I love me some Foxy Fierce, and I love Holidead too, but like I said, there's just something about Miss Foxy that you just love. I feel like she embodies all of the glamorousness that you think of, like I felt like I was watching this documentary and they was talking about like the style adjustments, especially in movies over the years. And they were talking about how black stars kind of had to shift with the times, but how they really started coming into their own in the 70s. And I feel like that's what Foxy like embodies. It's like somebody who's very well into her own, just fabulous, and embodies all of that. And so, and we got to chat with her in the interview and it was the same, like just absolutely lovely person. And so I was very happy, and again, this is nothing on Holodead because she's a fantastic wrestler, but I do love me some Foxy, and it was really good to see her get this win. The Holodead and her squad was doing a lot of shenanigans over the last couple of months, and so I like Holodead. You was part of the shenanigans, and so I am okay with you guys taking some L's because you guys were messing with quite a few people over the last few months, and you guys were doing stuff for no reason, and so I feel like in this regard, it was a nice bounce back, especially when, she made it to the final two at LA Comic Con for the title with Penelope and then wind up not winning it. Again, this is a clean loss, so it was no like foolery with this matchup, with like the normal situations when it comes to that squad. And so it was nice to have this little bounce back win, like kind of feel yourself. And I think she did even adjust her style a bit, which I noticed, and it was like nice to see. And so I was really happy with the matchup. I thought it was really awesome to see. I was glad with the win. I was a little confused with the Candy Crush thing also because she did give that whole speech. And if I'm going to say all this, like if I'm going to take the time to do all of that and then be like, well, never mind, guys, next week, that kind of makes the whole speech pointless. And that was why I was a little annoyed. Not at her because I understand you're like, oh, I got Holodead by herself. And they all have done things to her in this whole saga with them, involving themselves with the. And while eventually it was more her and Chainsaw to an extent, they all had something to do with messing with Candy Crush. And so I understood a little bit in regards to, oh, Holodead's by herself. I can kind of get something because she's by herself and there's nobody else that's going to interfere. But then it's also like you gave this whole speech last week. And so why put a speech like that if you plan on popping up next week? Like, what was the purpose of all that? It makes everything you said kind of like, okay, what was the like? I'm not like, what do you say all this for? It's like, when a person like is a cheater in lie and they cry and boo-hoo, and you're like, all right, maybe, and then no surprise, like we're gonna do that, like it's all over again. And not to equate this to cheating or anything, I'm just saying this like when you give up like all of that extra and then you're just like, oh well, nope. No, never mind, guys. They come back. And I understand a little bit again to kind of maybe get them one on one because they've done a lot of like ganging up type situations with her. But it's also like you said, you was above this now, and so it's like, are you above it, or are you like, are we? If you're now, this is beneath you. Did you lower yourself back down to those standards to get one up with an extra punch, or even though you want to get knocked off? Like I didn't. That's what I guess I didn't really understand because it was implied that this was now above her. Like she was above all of this now. Like she proved to herself she doesn't need all that she's like past all of this, and then it's like, no, never mind, guys, maybe I'm not really over it after all. And so that confusing kind of annoyed me, but otherwise it was a fantastic match.
It really was. And then the thing that upsets me is just like, well, it doesn't upset me. I feel like I just thought about this just now. It's so funny when you said, it was above her, and she was acting like it was above her, but then now it's not. I think that's a lot like life. How sometimes you try your best to be the better person in a situation and you initially sort of think you're going to be the better person, but then you go ahead and then you turn around and you're just like, you know what? You really made me mad and you was really wrong for that. So I'm about to be petty back to you regardless. I feel like that's what's going on. And if she's having a human experience like that, then I can give her some grace for
That
it.
is true because I've done that. I am definitely like, you know what, I'm past it. And I'm like, you know what, no, I'm not. And then I have to go home, like, let me give you one more. Like, I got to get this off because now I just about something else. And now let me give you a
Yes.
whole speech about why I'm not actually over it. And I thought I was. I've done this.
Yes.
I definitely have. And so if that's what's happening, where she was like, well, no, there's a little bit left, that I understood. I just felt like because she went like a whole speech about it. I felt like if she would have just said, okay, I can move past it, I'd be like, all right. It's just like she said such a big speech. I was like, all right, girl, because it was a lot of months with these shit. Like, I understand. But then it's like, yes, I've definitely been there. You think you're over something, and you're like, I'm kind of a little annoyed still. Like, I'm still mad because I've been there. So yeah, I kind of see that too.
Yeah, maybe it's not above her. Maybe it's just the fact that she's just still, dealing with it, with the, feelings. And if that's the case, and if we get to see more matches out of her, then that's fine. But she has been fighting with them for a number of months now. So I do kind of want to see Candy Crush fight some new people and get some new opponents to fight, because Miss Ma'am has been going back and forth with Team Darkness for a while. So I don't want her to just get stuck with them just because she's still, having a petty moment. Like, let that moment lie where that was and just leave it alone. Like, just don't fight with them no more. Just let it go. But yeah, big ups to Foxy Fierce for winning that match. And also, of course, if you are subscribed to our YouTube channel, or even if you're not subscribed, check out our interviews with a lot of the wild superheroes, especially Coach Campanelli and with Foxy Fierce that we have done, and hopefully we'll have more on the way. You can also check out our content that we made at Los Angeles Comic-Con when we did interview a number of the girls there as well. So please check that out on our YouTube channel. But before we go to our main event, we got to pay some bills real quick. So we'll be right back.
Hey peeps, TK Trinidad here, boss lady of Women's Wrestling Talk. And I want to say thank you so much for watching, because you've got millions of options. Plus, you don't have to worry about sharing your password to check us out. But while you're here, hopefully you know we have so many more shows to watch, like Turnbuckle Glam, Raw Post Show, WoW Post Show, AEW Dynamite Post Show, Women's Wrestling Army Post Show, NXT Post Show, Impact Wrestling Post Show, AEW Rampage and SmackDown Live Post Show, On the Scroll, ROH Post Show, WWT Live, plus all of our interviews with the hottest women's wrestlers in the game. Make sure that you like, comment, and subscribe. Check out our website at www.talkpod.com and follow us on all social media platforms at www.talkpod, and make sure to spread the word. That means send this to the group chat. Yes, even the person with the green bubble. Thanks again so much for watching Women's Wrestling Talk, the #1 women's wrestling show on the planet. Ciao for now.
All right, you heard Miss Ma'am. That's TK Trinidad, our boss lady. So, of course, if you are liking the Wild Superheroes After Show and the vibe we have here, please check out all of our other post shows and all of our other live shows that we have going on throughout the week. And of course, we will still be doing this on WrestleMania week. We have a lot going on and we have to chart it all. So, yeah, let's go to the comments real quick. JD saying, rocking a cool new look. Thank you. Yeah, I had to get my hair done. It's WrestleMania week. I'm traveling. So Joseph saying, LOL, watching this and got Wheel of Fortune WrestleMania week night 1 kicking off. Okay. I love Wheel of Fortune, and that episode does look cool though. So yeah, I wish it was Jeopardy though. But Jeopardy did have a WWE category a week ago, I believe, and I saw it on TikTok and I was like, oh snap, that's great. That's a category I knew I would have slayed. But either way, it's a really fun week going on, and we thank you guys for joining us and just continue to support us, like Miss TK said. So moving forward to our main event, we move to the Wild Tag Team title rematch between Miami Sweet Heat, the Carlson twins, Lindsay and Lori, versus Coach Campanelli and Randy Rara. Now, before the match got started, we did get a look backstage at Randy and the coach, and they were having, a little bit of, a pep talk to each other, and it was really nice to see them kind of on one accord in that way and sort of encouraging each other before their match, because they really were wanting to gun for those titles that they feel like they really should not have lost, but they did lose because of shenanigans. So hopefully, they were just encouraging each other, and then hopefully they would get this back. So I'm really, this was a really cool match to see. And their partnership is only going to grow stronger from here. So this tag team rematch was pretty awesome, but this is where it kind of tore it for me, because of course y'all know that the Fab Four is my mortal enemies. So Lana Starr came out there, and then Vicky Lynn McCoy came out there. But weirdly enough, we haven't seen Penelope Pink, the Wild World Champion, out there, because she's been mad quiet since my promo. So where's she at? But either way, both of them women came out there with the Carlson twins. So that just lets you know there was some ratchet stuff about to go down. So this match was pretty, standard pretty good standard tag team wrestling from both women, from both teams. As you can see from the pictures, you have a lot of flexing of Randy Rara's arms going backwards, and she was fighting and flipping so hard that her bow actually did come off. And Jermaine in the comments actually said the bow finally came off, and they did talk about it on commentary as well. So big ups to that. But either way, Randy was trying her hardest, and Coach was trying her hardest as well. They even utilized each other as weapons throughout the match, and I thought that was really cool. I love it when tag teams use each other's bodies, in order to, and like, turn them into machines of sorts to basically knock down their opponents. But it was just, ugh, I'm just so mad because you can tell that throughout this match, Coach and Randy tried really hard. But as they were trying really hard, the referee was distracted, of course, by more shenanigans by Lana Starr and stuff. But as that was going on, Vicky Lynn McCoy slid some small vanity mirrors underneath him to try to give to the Carlson twins. But then Coach Campanelli and Randy saw them and was like, okay, well, since y'all slid these in the ring, how about we use them just to give you a taste of your own medicine? And they hit the Carlson twins over the head with the mirrors, knocking them out, for a little while. And they covered up both of the girls for the 1, 2, 3. And for a minute, it literally looked like Coach and Randy had won the tag titles back. But, and I do, and but, and I do mean but, a referee came out and decided they want to lay down the law today, as opposed to doing it all the time, and came out and told the referee that Randy and the Coach used the mirrors to hit into the Carlson twins, and that was an automatic DQ. So that meant that the Carlson twins were able to keep their tag titles by that type of rule breaking thing. And it was just really irritating to me. And I was just like, oh, so it's cool when they do it, and it's a problem when they do it. Can't use the other phrase. But either way, I was real mad about that. And then David McLean was asking Coach Campanelli and Randy Rara about, why they did what they did. They were just like, because they stay doing that to other people all the time. Like, they were just like, they always cheat. And so we want to give them a taste of their own medicine. But it's okay, though, because we want to challenge for the titles again. But Lana Starr, of course, was, barking back at them saying, no, they're not going to fight again. They're not going to get another opportunity because they lost and all that. And that's really where WoW ended. But this irritated me because I'm just like, so every other time, here again, the referees are on the struggle bus. Every other time, the Fab Four cheats, you never catch it. You never have another referee looking at the stuff, closely and making a different call, like this is sports or something, like a real sport thing. Not saying that wrestling isn't a real sport, because it is. But either way, it's just like any other time you don't have that going on. But now this time you got it going on. That's an issue. That is a problem. And y'all need to fix it. Because the Fab Four gets away with murder every other week. But let somebody else get away with murder. You ready to lock them up. That's a problem. That's highway robbery. I hate it. But Katrina, before I go in more into why I hate it, you can talk about how you felt about the match, because
I already knew it was gonna be like the fact that they finally accepted they were gonna go for the title. I already knew, because Lana did not want them to rematch. She did not want that, and so as soon as I was like, all right, it's not gonna be. So I was again. This is how you knew Randy was fighting hard, because her bow did come off. Sis have done so many split spins and everything else, and that bow, it's kind of like the Indiana Jones hat that kind of always on the head, or like you think of Mr. Is his name Mr. Smith from The Matrix, where his glasses was always like on his face. It was like very rare when they were like, her bow is always on, it's always in the spot. And so that's when you knew she was fighting real hard, because her bow came off, that she was like, we're gonna get these titles. And while yes, okay, they might have used the mirrors, but it was like, it was put in there so the Carlsons could use it. So it was like, I was like, now here we go once again. First of all, the referees, the whole show wasn't even on point. Now, this is a show in general. There was a lot of stuff that happened, like in the second match, where it was like a little questionable with some of the stuff that might have been going on, and it was like you wasn't really listening, you was in La La Land. And so now all of a sudden we have extra refs. So where was the extra refs before? Because there has been a lot of stuff that has happened even before the Carlsons even got those belts, where so we just gonna like, or when they've had other matches with other people and the referee wasn't calling that hard, so now all of a sudden you got time to be like, let me be extra, let me use my eyes real diligently today, because I'm thinking Lana probably paid this ref, because where was this person all these other times? And now it's like, oh, would you have came out if they would have used the mirrors instead and Randy and Coach got knocked out and lost it? Would you have come and be like, no, well, disqualification? Like, while they would have kept the belts, it might have been like maybe another rematch, because or it wouldn't have been a win. Like, would you have came back out and said it would have been reversed if this was the other way around? If Randy and Coach didn't decide to kind of dive a little bit into the heel side to do what they need to do was necessary? No. I think Lana paid this ref. I really do, because I was like, of all this extra that happens every week, nobody comes to check. Like, that's the, like, sometimes refs be doing shit like, oh, and I complain about this, but I feel like the WoW superhero refs are like the worst when it comes to like how you never see nothing. We know, everybody knows the wrestling ref. There's the memes when you're like watching it and like as a kid, you're like, wait a minute, did you not see? Like, Eddie Guerrero used this to his advantage all the time, where he'll do something and the ref would never see it happen. Okay? We know this. But I feel like WoW superhero refs are really like just oblivious to the stuff that goes on. So I just think because of how extra this seemed, that Lana paid this ref off to come out, just in case it doesn't go the way I want it to go, you come and make something. I really feel like this is what happened, because it just was like all of a sudden you want to be diligent. So you wasn't diligent any other day of the week, but today you want to be diligent. Get it together. All of a sudden, I just know. Get it together, because you're never diligent, but now you want to be diligent. And so I think that she like probably had a little safety plan in place, that in case, because I probably sure she, like, I think one of the comments mentioned that it was possible they would have lost. And I think that's what it was, that maybe Lana just paid off somebody to have a little contingency plan, a little fail-safe plan B. Oh, if they happen and they don't use the mirrors, clearly the mirrors is plan A. Oh, they look, you're losing, let's lose these mirrors and use it against them. But Coach and Randy got to them first. And so this was clearly plan B. Pay the ref off and say this is disqualified, because clearly in their case the Carlson should have never won the belts in the first place. If we're going off that, if we're now being about like, let's be correct to rules, how did they win the belts anyway during that tournament? There was a lot of stuff going on during that tournament anyway, where they had to do the match again after all of that, and we was kind of annoyed. Like, we was hyped up for the twin versus, and nobody was concerned about discrepancies then. And so I'm just saying, I think Lana paid somebody off to have a plan B in case that they lost, because I do think she knew Randy and Coach was kind of serious, and especially Coach was really adamant about getting those belts back. And she didn't really want to fight them again. She didn't want them to fight them again anyway. I think this was just a little plan B, and it worked. I don't think this ref, like, if this ref even on, like, because where were you all the other times when all the stuff, like, even early in the show, you was nowhere to be found when something was clearly happening with the referee situation. The fact that Candy Crush got out there to even interfere, and while we understood it, she was able to interfere in the first place. She was able to get to the ring, and nobody was like, nope, can't do that during this match. But now, like, and I get it's for the titles, but still, if you're gonna be, I'm for same energy all around. You keep the energy for the whole show, if that's the case. And the energy was not kept for the whole show. And so I just think this referee was paid off by Lala.
I mean, but it's weird though, because the referee who ran out there was the same referee for the Holiday match with Foxy Fierce. So my thing was, it's just like, but and then he ran out there with like some urgency or whatever, but he probably was paid off. Like, I don't blame you for that line of thinking. He probably was paid off in order to do that. And the thing about Lana Star is like she has money. Like we've seen where she lives and we've seen the car she drives. She has money. She has a Mercedes. So it wouldn't surprise me if she did pay the ref off to actually, keep an extra eye on the match or whatever. But it's like you said, even in the tag tournament, when we thought the Tonga twins were gonna win, and then Penelope Pink and Lana Star were on commentary, but then they actually walked out there and hit them girls. Oh, shout out to them. It's their birthday today. Happy birthday to the Tonga twins
Yes,
too.
happy
So it's just
birthday, ladies.
yeah, it's just like they hit them with the mirrors while the referee wasn't looking, and that's how the Carlson twins won the tournament in the first place and they got the titles. So it's just like they just be dirty all around, but then it's just like if somebody else is dirty to them, they don't like it. And that just gets on my nerves. And it's just like, bro, like at what point are y'all gonna have something coming to you? Because y'all know that Coach and Randy had y'all, and they could have beat y'all if it wasn't for y'all and y'all shenanigans. Like I really feel like if Coach and Randy had just kicked the mirrors to the other side of the ring, then maybe it would have been a different outcome and maybe they really would have won fair and square. But either way, it was just such a trash ending for them because they really were trying to win. But it's just here again, I'm just irritated because it's just like the referees got all this energy for everybody else and don't have it for the Fab Four. Like what the F? It's just terrible. I hate it. I really hate it. And I just need for the Fab Four to get themselves together and just, realize that they just can't be acting like that. But that was the end of WoW. The Carlson twins, Miami Sweet Heat, are still the WoW tag team champions. But they have a whole but if it's anything that this episode did prove, is that they have a whole slew of women in the tag division gunning for them titles. So they better keep their heads on the swivel because they don't just have to worry about the Coach and Randy. They got to worry about the Heavy Metal Sisters. They got to worry about Jesse Jones and Americana. They got to worry about everybody and their mama. But either way, that was a solid episode of WoW Superheroes. And of course, thank you guys for watching us cover it all and talk about everything that went down. Now, of course, WoW does still come on this Saturday, but of course, this Saturday is also WrestleMania Night 1. So if you want to have your TV on both channels, please continue to do that and just continue to support Wild Superheroes as they continue to grow and put their stars out there and just continue to love on women's wrestling because it is absolutely important in all things. And not only just on Women's History Month, but in throughout the year as well. So Katrina, of course, thank you for being my tag partner and thank you for joining me for this show. And just tell everybody where they can find and follow you and what you've got going on.
Well, I have a busy week. So, first, you guys can find me on most social media platforms in Cat We Trust, TikTok, Twitter, and Instagram. The E is a 3. I will actually be at 9 p.m. today on a different show, talking a bit about AEW, AEW a bit with my girl Kiki, all elite with Keeks, and she is one of the people on the panels. You know, on Chicago. She was with me for the UK one. We did digitally, and she will be for Chicago. Hey, Nikki. Yes, girl. Listen, but the real quick. If y'all don't know, Nikki is like the MVP, one of the MVPs of Women's Wrestling Talk, like always on it, always on point, and I hope you absolutely have a fabulous time. She is also graduating soon, so just send all those congrats her ways. But I hope you have an absolutely fun time. I know you plan on seeing a lot of people and doing a lot of things, and so kill it out there in LA. And thank you. I'm gonna try. But yes, at 9 p.m. I will be on All Elite with Keeks and with Haley from Fightful. So that should be fun to kind of end off Women's History Month over there. Tomorrow I will be with my other co-host Shay on Unpopular Review talking about NXT for the first time. And so I will be doing about the NXT twice this week. So I will be doing that and live tweeting from the Women's Wrestling Talk Twitter account about NXT. So you will catch me kind of doubled after that. Wednesday's my free day, but Thursday I will be back doing NXT with Shay. And then it is Chicago time. And so I will be in Chicago. My panel is on Sunday. So if you're not in LA and you can get to Chicago, I would absolutely love to see you. We'll be talking about women of color in wrestling because we are so important. We are in this space. I just said this a few days ago, but we are here in the wrestling space. And while we know a lot of men love it, and this is nothing against you men, we love you guys, but we are here and we are doing absolutely fantastic things. We are in all aspects of wrestling, and that is so important. And so I will be talking about that in Chicago with some amazing ladies on the panel. And so that's pretty much it for me, but a bit of a busy week, but I hope to catch you guys at some point in different aspects, either virtually or in Chicago. And girly, listen. I hope we get to meet one day in person. I really do. But yes, you are absolutely killing it. You are shining. And I am so happy to have you with us on this. It's just amazing. So yes, send all the love her way as well, you guys.
Yes, big love to our senior writer, Nikki Bougie, always doing the dang thing in all aspects of life. We love her so much, and I can't wait to meet her. But of course, I'm your girl, Stephanie, so you can follow and find whatever I'm doing and follow me on Instagram and Twitter at Queen Steph Hardy. Listen to the Hardy Wrestling Podcast everywhere you get your shows, and also watch me on the YouTube channel on the Hardy Wrestling Podcast. You can join me tonight at 8 p.m. Central, 9 p.m. Eastern time, because I will be going live and my Women in WrestleMania series as I talk about Becky Lynch versus Charlotte Flair versus Mercedes Moné at WrestleMania in 2016. And the now Raw Women's Championship. Of course, that was an historic pay-per-view match, which in my opinion should have main evented that WrestleMania. But of course, if you want to hear me wax poetic about that, you can catch me on live everywhere with that. And of course, you can catch me on the SmackDown and Rampage after show with our editor-in-chief, Dreon Santana, this week, because I won't be going to SmackDown or to the Hall of Fame. But I will be in Los Angeles. I'll be at Wale Mania. I will be at NXT Stand and Deliver, and I will be at WrestleMania for both nights. So if you're in the Los Angeles area, if you're watching us from there, don't hesitate to say hi. If you know my face, say hi. I'll just say hello to you and probably hug you, either from the side or from the front, either way, however you prefer. A hug will be given. Okay. So yeah, we're going to have some fun this week, and I hope you're staying as safe as you possibly can, with the traveling and also with the preparedness or whatnot. Packing is not mine, but it's going to have to be done. But either way, I hope that you're having fun and just doing the very best you can this week. So of course, this has been Women's Wrestling Talk, the number one women's wrestling show on the planet. And thank you guys for joining us for the Wow Superheroes after show. And until next time, happy WrestleMania week. Bye, y'all.
Women's Wrestling Talk, the number one women's wrestling show on the planet. Women's Wrestling Talk, the number one women's wrestling show on the planet.